So in this video I am going to show you how to make a specific single blog post template using Elementor, then apply it to the review category. So over here you see that this is the general blog post template which I have going on over here. What I want to do, I want to make another separate single blog post template looking like this, and then apply it only to these categories over here. Okay. So these categories, camp, shelter, sleeping gear, these are the categories. Okay. Firstly, hover over here, then go to theme builder. Okay, it's loaded, and then what I am going to do, I am going to go over here, single post, and then add, click add over here. I am not going to use a template, I am going to make it from scratch. Okay. And then what I am going to do, I am going to change the name of this template, so I can identify it easily. So what I am going to name it, I am going to name it review post template. Okay. Then I am going to just save it as draft for now. Okay, then let's get started over here. Another thing is that I just want to use, for example, I want to use the contents of this blog post to review, to make this, just to use this, to preview this blog post contents to build this review blog post template. Okay. So I am going to go to settings over here, preview settings, then I am going to go to post, and then I am going to search for this are tracking polls necessary. So I will just type this out, are tracking polls necessary. So I will apply it and preview it. Okay. So you see there is nothing, no changes over here, but don't worry. Okay, it's just going to use the contents of this blog post to make our template which looks like this. Okay, let's bring this over here. Okay, firstly, the first thing you notice that the background over here, the content over here, background is kind of gray. Okay. So we are going to use this color over here. Firstly, we are going to add a container. Then we are going to add, we are going to set the background color of this to this color over here. So I am using the 𝗀𝗲𝗃𝗃 color picker. Okay. And then I am going to change the background to this gray color. Okay. And then I am going to add another container over here. Here is the container. Okay. And there is one container outside, and I am going to let's set the padding to 0. Okay. And then what I am going to do over here we can see that the featured image is the background. But before that, now let's pull in the featured image. Okay. So let's go to style, background type, click over here, and over here image, you see the dynamic tags over here, click over here, and then just simply click on featured image. Okay. You see it automatically pulls in the featured image, which is this one. Okay. Then what you need to do, we need to apply a height to this. Okay. So let's apply a minimum height 400. Let's add more, because this container over here is going to overlap this one. So, we need a bit more, okay, 700. No, it is a bit too much, I guess. 600. Still a bit too much. Let us apply 500. I think this will work, okay. This is kind of going to work, but another problem you see with the featured image is that it kind of repeats. We do not want that. Go to styles, you need to click on this container, style, featured image, and then over here position center, display size to cover, okay. Then it occupies the entire width of over here. Repeat, no repeat. Save draft, okay. Then we just simply need to complete this part over here, okay. So, now then we come to the post content over here. So, what you can do, we can duplicate this one, okay. Then we can delete this container, just add another container over here, another container, what you going to do, we are going to click this outer container over here and then change the width to 1000, okay. So, 1000, because you see that this container width is less than this the featured image, okay. Then what you need to do, we need to set the background color to white, okay. We can also apply box shadow, because this one also got a shadow going on, but we need to decrease the intensity a bit, okay. So, let us increase the blur a bit. I think that should be fine. Then we got the date over here, okay, the date. So, we can add, and we need to pull in this date dynamically, okay. We can pull in list, we can use the list icon over here, delete these two, and then we can use the calendar, this calendar over here, insert, and then over here the content over here, we need to turn this into this one like this. When this post was updated, we need to pull in dynamically post date, okay. This is not a WordPress website, this is an HTML website, okay. HTML, which means that in order for you to change anything, you will have to edit the, okay. My client's life is going to be very easier after I convert this website to Elementor WordPress, okay. Then another thing is that you see the spacing over here, the spacing, there is quite a lot of spacing from the edges of this container. I can add a bit of margin to it, padding 50, it looks better. And then another thing, you see there is this text, we can also add this text before this date. We can go over here, click on this banner icon, advanced, in the before we add this text over here, okay, fine. And this is also italicized, we can simply text, typography, style, italic. So, you see it looks better. Another thing we can do, we can add a bit of spacing over here. Okay, it looks better. Okay, then what you're going to do, we are going to we can change the icon color to something like this one, green, and make the size a bit bigger. So let's make it 18. Okay, then we got the divider over here. You see that small thin gray line, we can add something like this. What I'm doing actually, I'm making it as close as possible to the original one, not over here, we need it over here. I am going to decrease the color opacity so that it kind of turns into a bit gray. Okay, gap, let's decrease the gap. Another thing is that I forgot this title over here, so let's add it over here, post title. Okay, we need to make sure that it's aligned at the bottom over here. We click on this container. Oh, we can click on this container over here, the inner container, layout, center. You see, great. Then we can change this color to white. Another thing, you see there is a kind of dark background behind this title. We can do this too. We can go to over here settings while this title is selected, background type, color, we can choose a color, saved color, but decrease the opacity. Okay, and okay, so we can decrease the opacity over here. Okay, so this is we can decrease the opacity so that we can see the background image behind it, but they are kind of using a different smaller text. Okay, so what they are using a different heading, different typography, font family for this header. Okay, but what I want to do, I want to keep everything consistent. I don't want to pull in multiple font families, because that's gonna slow down the website. What I am going to do, I am going to inspect, but the size is a bit smaller over here. See, okay, it's 35. Okay, it's 35. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click over here and I'm going to change the size to 35 over here. Okay, and then make sure that it's aligned to the edge, and we need to just kind of spacing on top and below and on the side of the title over here. We can do that too. Top, suppose we can add 25. No, this container we are going to add, click the title over here, padding, top 25, bottom 25, sorry 20. Okay, so this is how it looks looking. To differentiate, we can also make sure that it's italicized, but it's okay, it's okay. Then we need to, you see that it's overlapping over here, this container. we need to click on this container and apply a top negative top margin. Okay, let's apply a 50. Let's increase it a bit. I think 70 is good enough, enough overlapping over here. Okay, then comes the post content. Okay, over here to here, right at the bottom over here. Okay, so we are using this post as a preview example. Okay, so this, for this post, these are the post content over here. Okay, then I come over here, post content. You see the post content, simply drag it and place it over here. No, we need to place it within this box over here. No, oh. Just keep going outside the box. Okay, okay, just place it in above the divider, and then we can move the divider at the top. You see, now it's okay. What you can do, we can copy this divider over here, copy, scroll up, and then paste it below. Okay, this one, and then scroll down, and let's delete this one. So you can see this automatically pulling in the post content over here. Okay, you see, it's already looking very similar to this one over here, this template over here. You see, very similar. And after we have placed the post content, comes this comment section over here. Okay, we can also place it. We can't bring in the actual comments. You see, post comments, just place it over here. See, it's done, already finished. And then let's scroll down, there's nothing else over here. Another additional thing we can add is like, no, it's okay. Let's just stick to the original one like this. Fine. Okay, great. Now we simply publish this over here. Publish this, and after you publish, then you need to add the condition over here. For adding the condition, over here, you need to, I need to choose a specific category. Like for example, I need to, suppose I want to apply this to the camp shelter. Suppose I add a condition over here, singular, I want to apply it to posts, not all posts. I want to apply it to for post, but in certain categories. Okay, certain category, and then which category I want to apply it to. For example, I want to, for example, camp shelter. I just type it in camp. Okay, please wait a bit, the internet is kind of slow over here. Camp shelter. Okay, I'll just cross it out a bit, and then let me just simply reload the page a bit. I think the internet is a bit slow right over here. I'll just pause it a bit and then start again. Sorry, my internet connection was down, and let's resume from where we left off. Okay, we had this built over here, featured image done, title, post content done, and we have also placed the comments over here. Okay. The last thing we needed to do is apply the rule. So, we go to options and we need to click on publish over here, then the rule, and let us just start from another add condition singular. We need to post, but not post, we need to target certain categories over here. Okay. And then instead of all, we need to target, for example, these categories over here. I will just target camp shelter. So, I have this category already added over here on my website, and I am going to add camp shelter. You see this category over here. Then I will click save and close. Great. So, let us just test it out with a blog post. Let us view this blog post over here. See, this is how it looks like with the default blog post template over here. Okay. And we have just made this blog post template, single blog post template over here, and then we need to apply it to the camp shelter category. All you need to do is, like, for example, we just add quick edit and then change the category over here from destination. We are going to add it back, no problem over here, but we need to just assign it to camp shelter to test it out if our blog post template is working. And then all you need to do hiking. So, this is the blog post over here, and we refresh it and see if it works. See, it automatically applies our the template we have made. Okay. And it is targeting this specific category called camp shelter. So, it is already added, and you see that it looks very nice. I think it might be better to increase the content width of this a bit more, because over here we need to add this kind of table over here when I am making this. So, I go over here and let us increase it to 1100. Okay. Okay, it's a bit wider right now. Fine. And what are you going to do? So, I showed this to test it out. I want to change this back to the way it was. The category was destinations, and I will uncheck this camp shelter over here and update. And after removing the camp shelter category from this, we refresh it and see it's back to the default blog post template. So, this is how you can create a single blog post template and apply it to certain categories. Okay. Another thing I want to do, I want to check for the responsiveness. Okay. And I want to a bit of padding over here. Uncheck this one, left padding 20, right padding 20. Okay. Fine. A tracking bolts necessary, and then minimum height, let us keep it the way it is. Okay. And we can decrease the padding over here because we are on a smaller device, we do not need this much padding. We can set it to 10, 15, or might be better to set it to 20 over here. Looks fine. So, great. So, this is how you can create a separate single post template and apply it to a specific category in Elementor. Elementor is a great tool to rebuild your website for WordPress. Okay, it's a great tool and you can make your website as looking as close as possible to the original one, just the way you want it. So it's a great tool, Elementor, and the paid version called Elementor Pro. So I'm providing the link to Elementor Pro down in the description below, so you can purchase it and build your own website using Elementor. So I hope you have found this video useful, and if you did, then please make sure to like this video and also please subscribe to my